anything that we do, material is at core of it. While all of us are so aware of AI, software, and everything around it, uh, but that software is dependent on your machines, which is happening because of certain materials. So Lohum started in 2018, so it's been roughly 8 years for us. The first 3 years were mostly focused on R&D.
So, are you able to use your material science degree here?
Yes, I think so. I would not say that I am playing a technical role. It's more of a managerial slash business role, but it's always good to have technical background so that you can ask right questions to the team.
Also, can you deeply talk about Loham's journey, like why Loham is very important for India?
Lohum has been able to achieve scale in such a difficult industry. If you think of it, uh, the the current scenarios, the whole wars that have been fought have been around energy. This is where Lohum is coming into the picture and ensuring that India has self-dependence around it.
Chetan, talking about this R&D part and building your own IP. So, are you licensing IP from somewhere else, or totally everything is like homegrown inside Loham?
We are very proud that every technology that we currently use has been developed in-house. We have not licensed any technology from anyone across the world. We are continuously filing patents. We are continuously generating new IPs, trade secrets. So yeah, that has been the core DNA of the company.
Chetan, talking about China, like as you mentioned, ki, 80% of the rare earth magnet is controlled by China. So, what does it actually mean? What if that supply chain disrupts someday?
There are various applications in which rare earths are used, right? Any electronic device, be it your mobile phone, be it your petrol diesel vehicle, which is called ICE, has tremendous amount of rare earth material in it. But what will happen if China tomorrow stops exporting it? Uh, anything which use one form of energy to be converted to another, it becomes really difficult.
Talking about Loham, like what is the contribution of Loham? Like in India, I think Loham is one of the leading manufacturers and producers of these minerals.
So Lohum is the market leader in this space. In terms of revenue run rate, we are close to 2,400 crores of revenue run rate. We have more than 10 facilities spread across different parts of the world, and input capacity of roughly 50,000 metric tons is what currently we have. So it's a humongous scale, and the company has grown spectacularly in last 8 years or so.
Talking about Loham's whole value chain, like how everything is organized.
So we have built this ecosystem slowly and slowly, right? The first step, of course, is collection, which is where you reach out to your customers, pick up the material, bring it to your warehouse, then sort it out. Post sorting, then in some cases you will also need to do dismantling, depending on the kind of material. Then there is something called as second life. We also look at material which can be reused. So the reusable material goes to reusable line where the new systems are created again, and the ones which are not reusable, they go for first your I would say mechanical shredding, followed by refining, and then finally into productized form, which is then sold off to the market.
Wow, like everything is indigenously built here. So it is really great to see that Indian engineers are doing that here.
So for us, if you talk about it, uh, removing India's dependence on foreign entities for these critical materials, if we are able to do that, that's a huge success for us.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Media. Today I am Greater Noida at Lohum. Lohum is India's largest producer of critical minerals and advanced materials. And with me is Chetan Jain. He is Senior Vice President at Lohum of Business Operations, and who is also my senior from IIT Kanpur. Swagat Chetan, how are you?
I am good. Thank you so much, Ankit, for hosting me.
Okay, great. So before entering into Loham's journey, I would love to know about your journey. Like prior to Loham, were you always into deep engineering or core engineering?
No, my journey has been very different. So I was born in a small town called Kosikala, which is very close to Mathura. Did my schooling from Jaipur and then did my majors in material science. After that, I worked at Bilai Steel Plant as hardcore operator slash engineer, where I was making steel for 3 years. After that, like a lot of students, I went for my MBA and did my MBA. Since then, I have been in multiple industries. I started out my career post deal in pharma. I was at Laurus Labs for 3 years. Then I moved to startup where I was part of the founding team at Rev Self Drive Cars. I was there for roughly 7 years. Then I moved to EdTech where I worked at Lead School. And since 2022, I have been associated with Lohum. So it's been roughly 3.5 years, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Wow, such a diverse experience that you have. So why did you choose Lohum? Like, I'm sure that you must have many offers from other firms as well. So why Lohum?
So Lohum, if you think of it, I would say all the experience that I gained over a period of time, right? Whether it's my education, which was in material science, and then building something from up ground, and then also helping the society in a way, right? This is where Lohum was at the intersection of all of it. So me being a technical person from material science background, this becomes a core part of it. Then leading the business here, it comes from my educational background in MBA, and then doing something which is good for environment, that automatically comes with it. Now, if you think about Lohum, it's not just helping environment, but it's also helping move India further ahead. So there are a lot of tailwinds in the sector. The technology that we are talking about, the Western world is still struggling with it. If you talk about US, there are a lot of companies which are not doing good. In fact, Ascent Elements recently went bankrupt. Lohum has been able to achieve scale in such a difficult industry, which is really phenomenal. So if you think about companies outside China, Lohum stands as one of the core pillar, which has been growing by leaps and bounds.
So are you able to use your material science degree here?
Yes, I think so. It's I would not say I'm saying. I would not say that I am playing a technical role. It's more of a managerial slash business role, but it's always good to have technical background so that you can ask right questions to the team.
Okay. No, but still, like most of us, like when graduated from like our colleges, so we ended up being a programmers or something else. So that's why I asked this question.
No, definitely. So, at the end of the day, we are dealing with batteries which has lithium, nickel, cobalt, or we are dealing with material which has rare earth elements or copper or aluminium. So, of course, the depth of technical knowledge that is taught at IIT is very different versus what we need here. But there is a particular focus area which you need to develop. I would not say it's everything is useful, but a lot of it helps you recall that there is something that you learned at that point in time and get you up to speed. So things like hydrometallurgy, doing reactions, so all those things just come back, right? We have not done that for last 10-15 years, but here that's what we do day in and day out.
Okay, great. Also, can you briefly talk about Lohum's journey? Like, why Lohum is very important for India? Like, if you have to explain me, okay, ki, why does it matters? Because it is one of the most unheard domains. Like, many people don't have any idea about these things in India. So, if you can briefly talk about the journey and Lohum.
So Deeptech, it has come into limelight very recently, but if you think of it, uh, the the current scenarios, the whole wars that have been fought have been around energy, and this is the time when world is transitioning from one form of energy to another form of energy. Fossil fuels was the main source of energy, whereas now everyone is talking about renewables, right? When you talk about renewables are not available 24/7, that you need to have some sort of power backup associated with it. So to be energy independent, you need a lot of resources. Unfortunately, at this point in time, India doesn't have those resources, not even from primary sources. Primary means mines. We are still import dependent, be it your petrol, diesel, or whatever coal, we are importing a lot from outside. Solar is free. The batteries, which is still being imported, so it helped. So while it helps us move from one form of energy to another, but still there is a lot of geopolitical risk. This is where Lohum comes into the picture, something which has already come into India. How to use that again and again and again while being in India is the core focus of the company. Apart from lithium ion battery recycling, there is another sector, rare earth elements. So it's been news fairly recently because of the trade wars between the two superpowers, and India was also impacted, where for some times magnets were not being exported to India, and there are certain limitations on the application for which it can be used. This is where we are taking our next leap, where we are moving from rare earth oxides and then fully integrated magnet plant, which is going to be set up in Meerut, and we are making a huge investment around it. Apart from that, we are also processing platinum group materials, PGM, for which we have already set up refinery in Hyderabad, which is already operational. So if you think of it, all these sectors, so anything that we do, material is at core of it. While all of us are so aware of AI, software, and everything around it, but that software is dependent on your machines, which is happening because of certain materials. This is where Lohum is coming into the picture and ensuring that India has self-dependence around it.
Okay, great. Like the kind of things that you have talked about. But talking about Lohum's initial journey, you guys started with recycling of batteries and those things. So when we hear this word recycling, like normally, what things that come up to our mind is like, kind of waste things and kind of things that we hear at home. But when we talk about recycling of critical minerals, it's a whole different conversation. So help us understand, like, where are rare earths in our day-to-day life, like, which can be recycled or which you guys, like, score.
Sure. So Lohum started in 2018. So it's been roughly 8 years for us. The first 3 years were mostly focused on R&D, where we were developing the technology and ensuring that we have the right and the technology that we have is everything developed in-house. We have not gone out and imported technology from Europe, US, or China. Everything has been developed in-house. So the first 3 years were mostly focused on R&D, where of course the revenues were minimal, and then we started our first plant in 2021, and then from there on we kept expanding across various lines. So we first started with the single plant, which was black mass production, then moved into refining materials, and then from one single plant, as the capacity expanded, we moved to different categories of material and having different plants. Now at the core of it, the idea was always there, right? If you like you rightly mentioned, when you talk about recycling, we talk about waste, and the things that come into our mind is ki kabadi wala,
Right.
kabadi wala,
Right.
this is a dirty job. But that's not how we should be looking at it, and that aspect needs to change a lot. A lot of material, a lot of wealth is going to waste because of this attitude of ours. Thankfully, India is a very value conscious society. Even if I will give my newspaper, I will expect some money coming back from it. So
Right.
I know where is the value. Now that value helps us create that environment where the collection should happen, right? Once the collection happens, then the recycling can take place. It should not go to dump in the ground, which only pollutes the environment, but at the same time it's a loss of valuable resources. The way we look at materials is we focus on categories where dollar density is high. What I mean by that, I don't focus on categories where for 1 kg I'm just earning 5 rupees or 10 rupees, right? When you talk about categories where per kg of material cost is on a higher side, that's where it starts making economics really attractive.
Right. And so talking about this whole recycling and circular economy, like, as you mentioned, it is very important for India to have these critical minerals. And we don't mine a lot of critical minerals in India, but we import a lot of things. And once we import, this is going to stay in India. So if we can talk about this circular economy and how big this opportunity is in terms of recycling.
So this is a humongous opportunity in my opinion. So if you think of it, there is various kind of materials which are mined. From those materials, first there are salts which are formed, then there is something called as cathode active material, and from those cathode active material the cells are manufactured. At this point in time, India is almost 100% dependent on imports of cells from outside country. A lot of it comes from China.
Okay.
India is assembling these cells to create battery packs. Now these battery packs is what you see in your two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, but inside what you see are the cells which are being imported mostly from three countries: China, South Korea, and in some cases Japan. So the value chain is not localized at all. Government has come out with PLIs, performance linked incentives, and there are companies like Exide and Ola and Reliance who are working to create that ecosystem. Even if that ecosystem is created, the back integrated value chain, which is around cathode active material or salts, that's still missing from India, which means we will still be dependent from outside work where we are importing salts or cathode active material. So what Lohum does is, once this material has come into India, we then process it, convert it into salts, and now into cathode active material. So that helps us remove that dependency on the outside work. There are many companies who are focusing on scaling up cell manufacturing plant, but the backward supply chain is something which we are focusing on, and we are trying to do to ensure that the material remains within India. We do have plans to import primary material, which is material from mines, and that convert into cathode active material. So we are just not focusing on secondary source of material. If we have to scale up really fast, we have to look at primary source of material too.
Okay, great. Can you put a number to this, like, how big this opportunity is, number one? And second thing is, like, how much we import and we domestically, like, use rare earth in our life as a country?
Sure. So when you talk about the opportunity in terms of capacity, India has aspiration of setting up 100 gigawatt hour of batteries in 2030, and that comes with Honorable Prime Minister's mission of India being net zero carbon by 2070. So there are certain targets which government has already put in place, and 1 gigawatt hour is roughly 5,000 tons of waste. So if 100 gigawatt hour facilities are being set up, 20% is waste or end of life different kind of material, so you're talking about 20 gigawatt hour. So which is your roughly 100,000 tons of material. So you can assume, and every ton of material is roughly $1 per kg. So it's a humongous amount of opportunity that we are talking about, and this is just one category which I am speaking about, lithium ion batteries. Then PGM is used a lot in the pharma sector. It is also used in refinery, and then your PGM is also used in vehicles like these, in catalytic converters. Right. So different category of materials, of course, has different applications, and in terms of market size, the global market size is in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right. I think it's in trillions of dollars.
If you include iron as well, yes, for sure.
Right. And like talking about Lohum, like what is the contribution of Lohum? Like in India, I think Lohum is one of the leading manufacturers and producers of these minerals. So what is the scale of Lohum on which Lohum is operating, and what kind of minerals you are working on?
Sure.
We can talk about that.
So Lohum is the market leader in this space with almost 75 to 80% of capacity across India. The material that we currently produce at scale are your lithium, nickel, cobalt, aluminium, copper, graphite, then platinum, palladium, and now mixed rare earth oxide. In terms of revenue run rate, we are close to 2,400 crores of revenue run rate. We have more than 10 facilities spread across different parts of the world. We are setting up one outside India in Sharjah in UAE, which is directly in partnership with UAE government. So they are equity stakeholder. And input capacity of roughly 50,000 metric tons is what currently we have. So it's a humongous scale, and the company has grown spectacularly in last 8 years or so.
Wow, like the kind of production capacity that you have mentioned, and where you aim to be it, like, in 3-5 years, like, what will be the production capacity?
So we are looking to grow anywhere between 5x to 10x on various metal output. So in next 5 years, we are looking to grow anywhere between 5x to 10x depending on various kind of metal demand. Certain materials have expectedly very high demand, like copper. Because it is used a lot in every EV. Some materials will have lower demand, so the capacity expansion there will be along with market expectation. I would say the next milestone is IPO, which is expected by end of 2027.
Okay, wow, great. And Chetan, talking about China, like as you mentioned, ki, like 80% of the rare earth magnet is controlled by China. So what does it actually mean in terms of like day-to-day basis? Like what if that supply chain disrupt someday? So what will be the consequences of it, and what does it actually mean?
So there are various applications in which rare earths are used, right? Any electronic device, be it your mobile phone, be it your petrol diesel vehicle, which is called ICE, internal combustion engine vehicle, it has tremendous amount of rare earth material in it. So while rare earth elements are called rare earth, they are not truly rare. So the material is available. It's processing,
Processing.
yes, which is difficult, and it's also economically difficult for you to make it viable. But what will happen if China tomorrow stops exporting it? Uh, anything which use one form of energy to be converted to another, it becomes really difficult. Rare earth also find tremendous application in your missile applications, defense applications, and this is where this whole geopolitics is at play. It's not just consumer goods that we are talking about. It has significant impact on your defense applications. If you indigenize your drone manufacturing or your fighter jet manufacturing, but if you don't have these kind of materials available, you will not be able to be at the top of I would say performance for all these materials. So and that's where, if you think of it, the whole world is talking a lot about how they can be independent in terms of their rare earth element supply chain.
Okay, so we truly need Atmanirbhar Bharat in critical minerals
Yes, and
to be in safe position.
yes, and it is, while we don't realize it, it is inside everywhere. We don't even know कि कहाँ पे क्या लगा हुआ है. गाड़ी के वाइपर में आपके छोटी छोटी मैग्नेट्स होती हैं. आपको बेसिकली व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, यू आर कन्वर्टिंग योर इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी इनटू मैकेनिकल एनर्जी. वहाँ पे मैग्नेट लगाया, आपने गाड़ी का बटन दबाया, खिड़की नीचे हो गई. ऑल दोज नीड मैग्नेट्स, स्मॉल स्मॉल मैग्नेट्स, बट it's still needed.
राइट एंड इवन मैंने जो इंडियन चाइना का जो ट्रेड का जो ग्राफ देखा है, लाइक व्हाट यू मोस्टली इंपोर्ट इज इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स आइटम. लाइक इंडियन चाइना का ट्रेड डेफिसिट इज मोर देन $100 billion
Correct.
एंड मोस्टली आर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक आइटम्स. So I think if any day it stops, like we are going to be in a bad position.
नहीं तो it's a mutual dependency,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, right.
हाँ, तो a lot of it are products which, of course, China, everyone wants money, right, at the end of
Right.
the day. So China, of course, wants money. It's the things which are of critical importance, where बोलते हैं ना, नब्ज पे हाथ है उनका,
हाँ.
right? तो they know this is critical because of so and so reasons, and that's why they can play around with it, right? अगर आपको कंज्यूमर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स में टॉयज नहीं आएंगे तो ऐसा नहीं है कि एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग टू स्टॉप टुमारो, राइट? बट थिंग्स लाइक मैग्नेट्स, इफ दे स्टॉप कमिंग, देन डेफिनेटली it will have its own impact on
And
the ecosystem.
right. And Chetan, talking about India, I think India is not a resource scarce country. Like we have rare earths, like in many parts of the country. So why are we not utilizing them? What is the key technological key setback that we have? Why are we not unable to process them?
So in my opinion, it's more about these things being in focus. Magnets were earlier produced in US. Slowly China started taking over. People didn't think too much about it, but now everyone realizes the criticality of these materials. So if you the government has come out with national critical mineral mission. Even in this budget there is talk of rare earth corridor around India's beaches. So there is something called as monazite sand, which is found across these beaches. Now, of course, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. Now when both private sector as well as the public sector starts focusing on it, it can be done. I would say till this point in time, it was more around people were doing it economically, so no one was focusing on doing it in-house, right? That the whole world was relying on China for all of this. Now everyone realizes that this starts becoming a weak point. So even if the economics are a little bit on a higher side, people would want to de-risk their supply chains, and they would want multiple sources, and which has already started happening. Companies, a lot of companies are vying for so there is a scheme by Ministry of Electronics and IT, ECMS scheme, Electronics Component Manufacturing Scheme, which Lohum also got from government, which is to manufacture magnets for your consumer electronics. Then Ministry of Heavy Industries is working on another scheme which is for magnets for big things like EVs and all. Then Ministry of Mines is working on different other schemes which is also around critical minerals. So the focus has come back. Now things will start moving forward at a rapid pace.
Yeah, I think recently rare earth is like very hot topic of that town. Like everyone is talking about rare earth, and government of India is also focusing on that. And India is demographically so rich. Like I think like there is so much of minerals are in India. So in future, what role Lohum can play in bridging this gap of processing our own rare earth that is there in India already?
So the way to look at it is there are certain sources of material which will be economically viable, and there are certain sources which will not be economically viable. The
In
route
processing,
in
yeah,
processing,
okay.
yes. The route that we are currently taking is doing it via secondary sources. We already know there is a lot of magnets which have gone out of uses from different sources. So we are focusing on those. Your MRI machines, your hard disk, all of these have magnets. So we are first focusing on that, and there is enough raw material which is available. Similarly, for lithium ion batteries, your gigafactories have started coming up, and they generate tremendous amount of waste during their production stabilization phase. And then your generation 1 vehicles have started reaching end of life. So the sources are available. It's just that how quickly you want to ramp up the production depending on the demand, and that's where we are seeing tremendous demand on critical materials like lithium, magnesium, and cobalt.
And if we can also talk about that sustainability part, like ki in terms of mining versus recycling, and like what sustainability looks at Lohum from your perspective.
Sure. So if you talk about mining, just to put in some numbers, your cobalt concentration is 1 to 2% in a typical mine, and then
Okay.
when you talk about batteries, the concentration is as high as 15 to 25-30%, right, in black mass. So if you have such a concentrated material, it becomes very easy to process it. That is point number one. Point number two, the carbon dioxide emissions are significantly lower because you already having a consistent type of feedstock. You know what kind of material is coming in. The impurity profile is also clear to you, whereas material coming in from mines has a multiple kind of impurity profile, and then you need to wash off the dust, concentrate the whole material that is coming from mines, which is also, I would say, 100x water consumption. So you are wasting 100 times more water in case of your primary material versus your secondary material. So your secondary material is very light on ecosystem, and that's why there has been so many studies which again and again proves the same, and all of us are aware that's true, right? And that's why there has been so much focus on for everyone to go via circular ecosystem and not follow a linear economy.
Right. And talking about Loham's like whole value chain, like how everything is organized. Like it's not just about collecting and recycling. In between there is processing, there is manufacturing, a lot of things. So if we can talk about that.
So we have built this ecosystem slowly and slowly, right? The first step, of course, is collection, which is where you reach out to your customers, pick up the material, bring it to your warehouse, then sort it out. Post sorting, then in some cases you will also need to do dismantling depending on the kind of material. Then there is something called as second life. We also look at material which can be reused. So reused is in fact better for environment compared to your recycling, because you are extending the life of the same asset. It still has value of recycling in future. It's
Okay.
just that your asset utilization is increasing. So we do second life as well, which is where it's more beneficial for environment. We have our own algorithms technology where we figure out which material is reusable and which material is not. So the reusable material goes to reusable line where the new systems are created again, and the ones which are not reusable, they go for first your I would say mechanical shredding, followed by refining, and then finally into a productized form, which is then sold off to the market. Of course there are different set of people who are expert in different operations, and those operations are also not centralized. The operations are across different parts of country as well, from where the material is being picked up. So we have different collection points spread across the country as well.
Wow. And what is your role in day-to-day basis? What a day in your life looks like?
So uh, uh, every day is very different, like this one.
Okay.
Right. So this is such a new industry. You are thrown different kind of challenges every day. You need to figure out how to bring the material from outside the country. You need to understand various kind of materials which is being generated. You need to work with different kind of stakeholders. So I also take care of sourcing of material, which is like strategic partnership with OEMs to ensure that the material is coming to us. We have long-term partnership with them. Everyone have their different expectations, so we understand those expectations, customize the requirement, and then go back and give the proposal to them. And that's why we have been able to manage that kind of market share. And operations, of course, everyone's technology is different, everyone's output is different, so we need to also ensure that we are treating it the right way. And R&D is a core focus area for us as a company. More than 10% of our workforce is employed at R&D, because
Wow.
R&D is what keeps us ahead of the curve. This is a very fast changing industry, right? And we are looking to expand both horizontally and vertically into different material category, but even within the materials that we are currently processing, go further down, as in create value added products. It needs rigor, a lot of research and development work, and I would say that's one of the core focus area where a lot of investment of the company is going.
And Chetan, like Lohum is also, I think, setting up India's first integrated rare earth element to magnet manufacturing facility. So if you can walk us through that, like how long it will take to for it to be operational and what exactly it is going to look like.
Sure. So I would say that's a three-stage process. I would
Yeah.
say four-stage process. We have already completed two stages. The process is already developed at R&D level, and then first you create mixed rare earth oxides, which is again a different kind of requirement. So we have already done that, created a pilot line. Now we are in the process of establishing a magnet pilot line, which is expected to be completed this year by October. So October 2026 when we have fully integrated pilot magnet line ready, and then we are looking to scale it up next year. So by next year, October to November 2027, we will have fully scaled up magnet line running, and that's where we have taken up land in Meerut. That's where that plant is going to come.
And that integrated world. So end to end, you are going to have everything from Lohum only.
Yes. So what integrated essentially means is that, because this is different processes, so we are creating sintered magnets as well as your mixed
Okay.
earth air oxide along the same line. It's not a broken line. So everything will be happening in the full line itself.
Okay, great. And now we'll talk about like the challenges that you are facing in day-to-day life as a ecosystem and as a company. So talking about one of the biggest challenges is sourcing enough batteries and working with a lot of stakeholders. So how you incentivize this collection and what is the current volume of material that is coming in and what is the challenges that you're facing as a company?
So we are already at 25,000 metric tons of
Right.
capacity, and we are running almost at 75 to 80% of utilization. India is a great source of material, and if you look at the EV penetration numbers, your four-wheeler penetration has already crossed somewhere 5.5%. Your two-wheeler penetration has crossed 10%. So the market is growing rapidly. Even apart from that, we are sourcing material from outside the country, right? Like every company, Lohum also believes in diversifying the sources. So we are not just relying on one source of feedstock. So there are multiple sources of feedstock, both from domestic and international market. Even from domestic market, you have gigafactories, you have battery manufacturers, you have vehicle manufacturers, you have insurance companies. So all these become source of raw material to us. Of course, when we are the way we think about capacity expansion is we look at the market, how much of the material is available. So your capacity should be in tandem with how market is expanding, and touchwood, a market has been growing beautifully well till
And
now.
talking about India, like recycling part, most of the sector is I think informal.
No, that's not true. So there is something called as battery waste management rules,
Okay.
which came out in 2022.
Okay.
Now, which put onus both on producers and recyclers to function in a certain way. Producers are responsible to get their material recycled in an authorized facility. So your mobility sector, every battery which is going into the mobility sector, the end point is going to be dealership. If you purchase a vehicle today, you will not just throw away the battery. If there is an issue, you will go to dealership, get a new battery, which in which case the battery is back to the OEM, and the OEM will not send it to informal market. It will come back to the formal market. The material that only goes to the informal market is something which is being thrown in the dustbin, right?
Right.
Which is something which you are selling at kilo ka bhav to a kabadi wala.
Like mostly like if you talk about the like
Your
day-to-day
small
basis.
consumer
Yeah, right.
electronic battery, and that to a very limited extent. After these battery waste management rules, most of the market has formalized. So your e-waste is still where a lot of challenges are there, but thankfully the battery waste management rules came at the right time, and this is where the sector is mostly formalized.
Yeah, I think in the next decade the EV is going to explode. So Islam is ready to scale with that, like to pace with that wave.
Yeah, so we have been profitable for last 4 years now. We
Wow.
have raised more than 100 million in capital, and I don't think capital is going to be an issue. So as soon as the material availability is there, and we see the ecosystem getting developed, we are more than happy to put in those capacities.
You are profitable for more than 4 years now,
Yes.
and initially you spent some 3 to 4 years on R&D.
Yes. So
Wow.
you can say the first after first 3-4 years we have been profitable. So financial controls are very strong in the company. From I would say day one, we were clear that we would not want to build a company which is losing money. We have to sustain it for the long term, and most of the capital that is being raised is for capacity expansion or expansion into new categories of material. But sustaining but the current business is sustaining on itself.
And Chetan, talking about this R&D part and building your own IP. So are you licensing IP from somewhere else, or totally everything is like homegrown inside Lohum?
So as I was mentioning, more than 10% of our workforce is
Is
involved
R&D.
in R&D, and these are guys with PhDs from reputed institutes all across the world. When you make such kind of investments, you typically would prefer to generate your own IP. So we are very proud that every technology that we currently use has been developed in-house. We have not licensed any technology from anyone across the world. We are continuously filing patents. We are continuously generating new IPs, trade secrets. So yeah, that has been the core DNA of the company.
Wow, like everything is indigenously built here, and I always thought like there is a risk like India always had to import technologies from outside. So it is really great to see that Indian engineers are doing that here.
Yeah, of course, China is, I would say, ahead on the curve. They are the leaders, but we are not too far behind. We are following up, and thankfully, everything is happening within India. So that's a great, I would say, mm, pat on the back for us.
Okay, and as an ecosystem, like how can we bridge that gap? Like what we have and what we can use, like as an ecosystem.
So in India, the problem is we keep on keeping waste material in our houses, right? Even if you open your drawer, you will find 2-3 phones. ये तो रखे हुए हैं, पुरानी यादें हैं, या for whatever reason, right? Uh, People don't understand the importance of that, right? So if all that material starts coming in over a period of time, India can become self-reliant. Of course, new technologies will have their own requirement, but if you talk about consumer electronics, mostly the market is more or less saturated. It's like you can take those back, create those into new material which can be reused. So self-sustenance, of course, in certain categories is possible, but if I talk about EVs, right, the market is still growing tremendously, right? That's where you will have to have another sources of material coming in, be it from within India, be it from outside India, whether in the form of raw material, whether in the form of final product. So that's a reliance that we still that's a gap that we still need to fill.
Okay, and Chetan, if you can also talk about like the fundamental breakthroughs that your R&D team has cracked or the technologies that you have developed. So if you can talk about that.
So,
So in terms of achieving that purity and the rest of the things.
so I will leave China apart because
Yeah.
they are the leaders, right? But if you talk about Western world, lithium refining yield is your output by input, is close to 60-65% in different parts of the world. At Lohum, we have already crossed 85%, and that too I'm talking about battery grade lithium production. Battery grade, of course, in terms of purity, that's difficult, and getting that along with yield is again a tremendous challenge, because these are the two things which decide your economics and
Economics,
profitability.
like is it economically viable or
Correct.
not?
Similarly, on your complete battery, we are able to recover more than 99% of material, and the yield in cobalt and nickel are north of 96-97%.
Wow. And talking about like any critical technologies that you are working on, like what we can expect next.
There are a few, but I would not want to talk about them right now. Once we reach a stage where we are comfortable talking about it, we'll more than happy to discuss again.
And are you getting good support from the government on this? And talking about the other collaborations, like in India, one of the biggest problem is people working in silos. Talking about industry, academia, and government. So, are you collaborating with the academia, and are you getting good support from the government?
Thankfully, this has been industry which has been a lot of focus from different parts of I would say government or industrial bodies, or your I would say think tanks as well. If you talk about, I'll go one by one. If you talk about government came out with National Critical Mineral Mission, and then there are PLI schemes which have come up. Now within NCMM, recycling scheme is something for which again Lohum is approved, right? So there is a lot of focus, lot of support, and there are continuous discussions and dialogues which keep on happening with government keeps on calling various industry stakeholders for discussions, consultations on various policies. So that focus is right there. Then you talk about think tanks, because this is such a critical sector now, and the whole government is focusing it, and Prime Minister himself has spoken about this sector so many times. So there are multiple think tanks which are very proactively looking forward to what can be done better. They're having their policy proposals being put out. So it has been quite engaging, and the same has been your the various industry bodies, right? So policy people, industry stakeholders, and then government, and then of course commercial players like us. So it's been I would say a very symbiotic ecosystem where people are hearing, people are ready to hear, people understand each other's challenges. Of course there are certain issues where people don't agree to, but that's part of the process, right? Not everything is to be agreed to, otherwise we don't need so many people in the room.
Right.
But more or less the ecosystem has I would say has been supportive. Government, especially with their various kind of schemes, policy folks with their think tanks, with their different ideas. They understand what is happening in different parts of the world. There is something called as battery Aadhaar, which is in discussion, which essentially has the full traceability from end to end. Where did your battery come from? Where is it going? So like your UPI, you can just scan and understand what is it that your battery has come from. Is it from within India, outside India, which country? So there are multiple things which are being worked on, and thankfully it has been very supportive.
And talking about that industry and academia collaboration, so is something like that exist at Loham?
Yes. So we are partnered with multiple institutes, and IIT Kanpur is
Oh,
one of
nice.
those. So the way to look at it is there is something called as TRL, Technology Readiness
Readiness
Level.
level.
We focus on commercializing the technology. There are certain technologies, your 2, 3, 4, which is more driven by educational institutes. This is where we partner with educational institutes or academia because they focus on very fundamental research, whereas our focus is on, once that there is a certain level of maturity, how to scale that up and bring it to commercialization and make it economically viable. And that's where academia and industry can collaborate really well. So we are working with multiple institutes, including IIT Kanpur. Yes, and again, technology wise, these are good challenges. So these challenges are something which various scientists or professors really
So, are you
want to work
getting
on.
good output from these collaborations? Like talking about that research part. So, till TRL level 3 to 4 institutes are working on this, and then you took up from that level. So, how do you ensure that smooth transition, what we call death valley of technology, or commercializing of technology?
So again, you have to be very practical, right? Not every technology is going to be commercially viable,
Right.
right? And there is no short path, right? You work on multiple things, and then there are few things which work out. Of course, we have created our own processes, how the information transfer, data transfer, tech transfer happen when you are looking to scale up. But even then, of course, there are certain cases where it doesn't work out the way we would want it to, and that's where we put in more efforts, try to go back to the drawing board. And typically, academia people are happy to collaborate because at the end of the day, their goal is to ensure that whatever they are developing, people are using it. It's not just for publishing papers, right? They would want someone to take that up and ensure that it's being used in the industry. That's where I would say the more recognition for them starts coming in. So when we work with academia, we have not seen challenges in these kind of transfer or discussions.
And how do you see these transaction as an investment or as expenses? Just a curious question. Like the problem with many Indian companies is they look up to science, tech, and R&D as expenses. But I think these are investments to create wealth or to commercialize things in future. These are long-term investment, not long-term cycles.
No, absolutely, and that's why I mentioned that we have more than 10% of our staff working at R&D. If we would not look at it as investment and rather look at expense, then the number of folks would have been curtailed much before, right? We know our long-term sustenance on various technologies is dependent on what we are doing in R&D today, right? Technology is being is changing at such a fast pace. So if you don't disrupt yourself, someone else will do it, right? So you have R&D folks who are working on this, and for us it's definitely an investment, right? If not, then somewhere down the line it will be very difficult situation for us.
Okay, great. I think we diverted from that government support thing. So again, going back to that, I think government is focusing a lot on this, and what I'm seeing a trend is like in terms of bilateral trade deals, critical minerals are included in that at this point of time. So if you can talk about is Lohum is part of such things and like collaborating internationally, because China is monopoly and we can't do it alone. We need to collaborate with other countries too.
Correct.
So if we can talk about that and government support in bilateral trade deals and everything.
So these bilateral agreements typically are G2G kind of engagements, right?
Okay.
Where there are certain agreements which are happening with between the various governments. For example, EFTA, European FTA, which was signed off, or the agreement with Australia. So it opens up immense amount of opportunities for players like us, where we will have access to market both for raw material and finished goods. But as part of bilateral agreement, it again creates a framework, right? It does not have any private entity as part of those agreements, because that's not what governments can do, right?
Okay.
Or government would want to do. Government ensure that the two countries who are getting into bilateral agreements both have equal opportunity or opportunities to access the markets, access the material, which essentially ensures that both are benefiting from it, right? If today Lohum wants to sell material in country A, with which the country doesn't have agreement, and your bilateral agreement to sell these kind of technologies or material versus country B where the agreement is there, it gives access both to Lohum as well as for the company who is based out of that place. So it's beneficial in that term, but of course government creates the playground and then it's up to private companies how much they would want to leverage on that, and how much would they want to build their business out of those locations.
Okay, if I simply ask you this one question, like, ki what government need to fix for you guys to scale, like in terms of be it reducing GST on battery scrap or custom support or like, anything like that. Like if government can fix one thing that can help you guys to scale.
Uh, for us, I would say in the wish list, reducing GST to 5% would be on top of it. That custom duties on import of scrap has already been reduced to zero. So
Okay.
that has already been, I would say, listened to via dialogues. So that has already happened. But yeah, if GST moves to 5%, I think that solves, because batteries are at 5% GST, but the scrap is at 18% GST.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Sorry,
Like,
not batteries, or vehicles are at 5% GST, batteries are at 18% GST, and then scrap is at 18%
yeah,
GST.
that's what I was talking about. Like, if government can change that one thing for
Yes.
you, and other than that, like, any policy or that is working against you, like, ki we need to support our domestic like, players. So any policy, like, ki that again you want to change in terms of, like, competing with foreign players.
No, I think this is still a developing ecosystem, right?
Okay.
To again, the way government has been supporting via both import duties or by bringing in various policies where uh, the companies can start being created within India itself. I think the focus right now is more on how do you create those companies within India, which is where most of the policies are also right now. Once you have people or companies who are doing production within Indian boundaries, then you can start putting on guardrails or various kind of incentive structures where you don't bring again, the way to look at it, every country would want to do value addition within its own boundaries, but if you don't have people already producing those material, you are only going to increase the cost and make the market a little less attractive, right? Energy transition is a reality, we would want to be at the forefront of it, but right now you don't have too much gigafactories operating within India. So let's bring in those gigafactories, let's bring in more manufacturers within India, and once you have fully developed Indian ecosystem, then you can start thinking about all those things.
Okay, great. And talking about Lohum, what is next? Like, as you mentioned, like now we are moving to advanced minerals, materials. So if we can talk about that, like, ki the transition and the applications that we are going to see.
From our perspective, magnet is a big project where significant amount of investment is going in, so that's the big thing. In addition to that, getting ourselves ready for IPO, I would say that's another milestone. And then
Any milestone before IPO?
IPO is just 1.5 years away. No, so there are certain targets that which we have fixed up internally in terms of top line and bottom line. So we are keeping track of that. So we are already at 2,400 crores run rate, which is phenomenal. So those are the kind of targets which are there right now. Of course, apart from new categories, expanding the current categories is the focus area for us.
Okay, and talking about, like, like remove everything, IPO and everything, like what does success looks like for Lohum in, in like in overall, like, running God's on its full potential and everything, what does success looks like for you guys?
So for us, if you talk about it, uh, removing India's dependence on foreign entities for these critical materials, if we are able to do that, that's a huge success for us.
Okay, great. And there's a last question for you. Like, is anything that still surprises you about this space and something that you didn't expect or you had any myths about this industry?
No, so of course, you in business, there are always surprises, right? There I- I'll have to think, but yes, there are
Please,
always.
please take your time.
Um,
And we won't cut this. This pose will be there in the video.
yeah. So in terms of surprises, there are people who come with irrational expectations on what they can achieve in the sector. So we have seen a lot of people reaching out to us saying that we can build this capacity in 2 months and 3 months without understanding the nitty-gritty. They don't even have idea of chemistry. Because this is so much in the news, there are surprises from different sort of people who think that they can build this within 3 months, which I don't think is really practically possible for anyone to do.
Okay, and Chetan, like any message, advice for students, young grads, and the entrepreneurs who are building in this space or who want to explore this space? Like we are going to need a lot of people in this space in near future. So if you can speak to them.
So I think all of us hear a lot about AI. AI and software is where there is a lot of fluidity in terms of what is happening in the market. Material is one sector, deep tech sector. Whatever happens, material will continue to play a role. So if someone is really looking to see this as a sector, there are immense opportunities, be it in semiconductor space, be it in critical material space, because material requirement is going to become more and more advanced. We have not even spoken about data centers being put in space, right? There are talks of that already happening. Once that
Right.
starts happening, the kind of special material requirement that will happen is going to be very different from what we have been producing till now. So someone who understands various properties of material and can help it produce at scale, they have a very bright future. Like people who started working in semiconductors long back are now gods of that industry, right? So if someone is looking to create their career, or even if they are not, they should look at creating this career, because this sector is going to be there for long.
And no AI is going to take jobs
Yes.
in this domain at least.
Correct. So no AI can, they can create some sort of plan, but they will not be able to do experiments on their own or come out with the outputs that has to, there is tweaking that has to happen on the factory floor or in the research lab. I don't think that's going to happen via AI.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Chetan, for your time. Really had a great time and so much to learn from you. And मजा आया काफी.
Many thank you so much for hosting me. I think a lot of old memories came back after discussing with you young days. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you
great.
so much.
Thank you so much. Then, okay, thank you.
Thank